Plaintiff Sandra DeYoung says while married to the defendant, he was an alcoholic who assaulted her. Sandra claims the defendant also threatened her and her family, and she has the voicemail to prove it. Sandra's suing her ex-husband for breach of contract. Defendant Philip DeYoung says Sandra is the abusive one who once assaulted him with pots and pans and tried to stab him with a knife. Philip claims Sandra was arrested and pled guilty to the charges resulting from that incident. And he's countersuing for breach of contract.
Start with you.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is my ex-husband. We had a good relationship for a long time, but he likes to party, likes to drink, and when he drinks, he's a completely different person. And so...
What happens when he drinks?
Well, he's made threatening phone calls to me and threatened me and my family. I actually brought a voicemail today.
While you all were married?
This was after we were divorced, but...
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the things that were occurring during the marriage.
Those things occurred during the marriage also.
Threatening you and your family?
Yes.
How long were you all together?
We were together for 7 years. We were married for about a year, and then we were divorced in 2012.
You lived together?
We lived together pretty much the whole time.
Okay. And he was threatening and abusive then?
Yes. Oh. I thought I could change him because it really was only when he was drinking, and I thought if I could get him to stop drinking and stop partying, because when he was sober, he was a great guy. And I just finally realized I couldn't change him, and so...
Did you ever have to call the police on him?
Yes.
How many times?
Maybe three times.
Did he ever physically assault you?
Yeah, once.
Okay. Sir, you want to respond?
Well, Your Honor, it's basically kind of, I'll agree to some of it. We dated, it was great. It was one of those hot and heavy, hey, we're young type deals. We had a lot of great times. And yeah, I partied a little bit. There's no denying that. But as far as the domestic disputes go, I actually have a police report here.
This is while you all were married?
No, this
That's
is why
what we're talking about right now.
Oh, you want to talk about the marriage?
That's what she's talking about. I was allowing you to have a chance.
We'll talk about the marriage.
Did you beat your wife? That's what she says. All right,
I worked
then.
84 hours a week and paid the bills.
All right, so you didn't beat her. She says you beat her.
Yeah.
All right, and you weren't threatening her and her family on a regular basis?
When we were married, no.
All right. Afterwards, you threatened her and her family?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Well, in regards to, I was backed in a corner at work and I'm in charge of watching a multi-million-dollar machine run, and when I have the plaintiff and her boyfriend threatening to come up to my work and sign a promissory note, I kind of lost my
That's the contract we're suing about?
Yes, sir.
What is it you wanted me to see? Does it have to do with what you just
No, sir, that has
to
do with the domestic issues before we were married.
And what is that then? I was referring to everything prior to the divorce, and that would include prior to marriage. What is this supposed to tell me?
Well, that's just the night that I went out and I came home and we got into a physical altercation.
And you were found guilty?
No, that's not me, it's her.
Oh, that's her. Yep, ma'am.
I was hit with pots and pans, and
you received,
she tried sticking me with a knife. You know,
and you received a 180 days
it's
suspended sentence, ma'am. You have any evidence that he assaulted you? Because he has evidence that you assaulted him.
I know that, and the reason that I assaulted him was because he blocked me from leaving the apartment that we lived in. He stood in front of the door, and I couldn't leave. I was trying to leave. And
but why were you convicted? Oh, that sounds
yeah, because
unfair
I
to
actually
you.
called the cops, and they came and arrested me.
Right, but at trial, what happened?
Well, I should have pled not guilty, but I was 19 years old. I didn't know any better.
What did they tell you would happen if you pled guilty?
I'd pay a fine and get to go home because I had just spent the night in jail, and I just wanted to go home. I thought if I pled guilty, I'd get to go home.
Nonetheless, you're suing him for $3,000 now regarding what?
Well, we were divorced in 2012, and here's the divorce decree where he agrees to pay the mortgage on the house that we own together.
That's the $3,000 you're suing for?
No, that's...
All right, once again, let's get to the $3,000 that you're suing for.
It's the start of the story to where we get to why I'm suing him. But this is the
how does this
contract.
relate to why you're suing him?
Okay, it's because he agreed to pay the house payments on the house that we own together. He started to fall behind in those payments, so I was having to cover him. And then he had this roommate that was living with him that wasn't paying rent. She wouldn't leave until he gave her $3,000 because he owed her money. So I offered to give her the $3,000 if he paid me back, and he signed a promissory note that he would do that.
Okay.
And
what
also
has
I
happened since that time?
He just hasn't paid me. He just makes excuses. He has called me and left threatening voicemails, which I have brought today.
Threatening you when he owes you?
Yeah, because
what does he threaten to do? I'm going to get you because I owe you?
Well, he's just basically mad that I keep calling him, and he's mad that I have a new relationship.
Let's hear it.
And okay.
I tell you what, I will meet you alone, unarmed, knuckle for knuckle. Now I'm going to tell you something. Only one of us is coming back. It's the phone, mother. Come on, play the game, and you're going to be the star.
So I filed a police report about that. It's right here. And he was found guilty of disorderly conduct.
Why did you file it?
Okay.
Because he threatened me.
Let's see it, please. All right, but it sounds like he threatened your life. Did you believe it?
Yes.
All
She
right,
met me
so
that
did
night.
you tell the police you believed he intended to kill you?
Yes.
And the police only charged him with disorderly conduct.
They just told me what they were going to charge him with.
No, but you didn't know if somebody tried to murder you and the police said, well, we're just going to give him a ticket. You wouldn't complain? You would say, well, I guess you know what you're doing. Yeah, you didn't believe this man was going to kill you, ma'am. And I'm sure the police didn't either.
You want to talk about the marriage?
That's what she's talking about. I was
well,
allowing
okay.
you to have a chance.
We'll talk
to
about the marriage.
Did you beat your wife? That's what
No.
she says. All right,
I worked
then.
84 hours a
I'm
week and
talking
paid the
about-
bills.
All right, so you didn't beat her.
Plaintiff Sandra DeYoung says after she and the defendant divorced, he threatened her and her family, and she has the voicemail to prove it.
Let's get to you, sir, in defending this contract for $3,000.
I kind of got to elaborate a hair. The $3,000 that was paid to the woman that was living with me, that's actually money that went into the assets of our home. It needed needed paint, needed drywall, it needed carpet. That was exchanged for a 12-month period where she could live there. Well, when I got laid off the factory, they had slowed it down and I fell behind on the payments, was never covered, as you can tell by the evidence here in my bank statements. Basically, that $3,000 was paid out because she had wanted me to leave the house and rent it out because I was quote unquote financially unstable. Now, when she was paid that $3,000, I never initially agreed to pay her $3,000. She said she'd give it to her to get her out of our hair and we could rent the house out.
So why did you sign this saying that you would?
I was forced into a corner at my work.
No, that
How?
wasn't at your
That-
fault.
the night I threatened to kill her and she was also scared for her life, she met me at Walgreens 2 hours later because she agreed, all right, I'll wait. till
Ma'am,
you
did
get
you
off
meet
work."
him at Walgreens two hours after he threatened your life?
No, I did not. This
Gotcha.
was
Go
a
ahead.
different time.
Did you read it? It's totally sarcastic and because of the fact I was backed into the corner
Backed into the corner. How? You were threatened? How?
that she wasn't going to leave my work until that paper was signed.
Okay, you have evidence that she came to your job and
Yeah, it was that
threatened you
voicemail.
like that. You have it?
It was the voicemail you just heard. She did that when I was at work the day I met her. That
She
was
said,
all
I'm
the
at
day.
your, I didn't hear her saying, I'm at your job.
Right, because that's the voicemail I left her. She was threatening. That was
No,
the day
sir, you told me I just heard something telling us that she said she was at your job.
Yeah. Well, obviously.
I didn't hear that.
Evidently, I guess I'm wrong.
There you go. There you go. See, people just tell me things and just think it's gonna go over my head. Your counterclaim for $5,000 for a breach of contract is for what, sir?
That's for half the mortgage payments I had paid for the 2 years we were still married.
That agreement was made as part of the divorce proceedings? Yes or no?
Yeah.
This order that you pay is an order that the judge made in divorce. And in order for that to be changed, you must go back to that judge and ask to have the divorce order amended, saying, I don't like it. Whatever you're saying today, go tell the judge who ordered you to do it. And maybe he'll change it. I can't change that judge's order. This isn't an appeals court. So I'm going to have to dismiss your claim and grant her $3,000. Have a good day.
Thank you.
I know you got some more to say than I do. I'll tell you what.
I mean, I don't
Don't
care.
ever get married again. It's too expensive.
I was honest. I said what I had to say. You know, you lied. I didn't make up anything.